Right, I am just going to, so people are joining, and I'm just going to turn off the comment, and I do that again. Right,
I
I can't, let me just turn on comments because I can't then see people. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sorry Dietetics Let's Insta Live Chat series. And so today is actually the episode 2 of the live chat, and our topic today will be about working in private practice. And so my name is Long, and I am a lecturer in dietetics and a registered dietitian and at the University of Surrey. And I'm so glad today we've got our amazing guest, Cristian Costas, joining us. And hello, Cristian, if you want to say hello to everybody.
Hi to everyone, and thanks for having me along. Really good. This is a blast from the past, isn't it?
I know, right? And I don't know if anybody knows, because possibly nobody knows. Christian and I, we started dietetics together at Leeds Beckett University, the postgraduate diploma in dietetics. When was that? That was back in 2015.
2015, we graduated. Yeah, summer
Oh my
2015.
God. It has been how many years? 8 years already. And when did we see last time? I think probably definitely before COVID, and
Yeah.
either 2017 or 2018. So it has been another 5 years since the last time I saw you. But obviously, I feel like I've been seeing you because you've been very active on social media, and I feel like I see you every day. I feel like we haven't really lost in touch, etc. So that's really good. And
Same.
if nobody knows, Christian was the star student when we were doing the dietetics course, and I know, right? It's not me. And how's that possible? But it's Christian, a star student, and obviously, since graduation, Christian, you have sort of thrived in your career path, and you have taken on a lot of responsibilities, and you have sort of progressed from a band 5 to now a band 7, and also started working in private practice as well. And I can see people are still joining, so that's really good. And I've done so
Thank
much
you.
talking, but at the moment, Christian, would you mind telling us a bit more about yourself?
Sure. Yeah, thanks for the intro and all that support. I think the same, Long. You've been doing so much great work, and even with this, taking this on with university for Surrey, I think it's a great initiative. So
Thank
so
you.
well
That's
done
what
with
I
that.
want to hear, but thank you.
Yeah, no, really well done. So yeah, I think basically for those that don't know me or a bit of what I've been up to really. So we graduated back in 2015, and then I've been working in the NHS since really. Working in a few different areas. I started off in acute, and then started to work in a bit more in gastro, and then over the last 4 years, I've been lucky enough to set up our dietitian-led celiac service over in Bradford, and I've kind of been leading that with the support of our gastroenterologist too. And now that's evolved, we've had another post, so we're in the recruitment process for it, which is really good. And essentially that's because we've collected some outcomes too. So it's kind of built really over time, which has been great. And on the side of that, I've also been over the last sort of 2 years been involved in private practice too in a few different ways. And then I'm also involved in research too in a few different ways. So some of it has been through doing that top up after doing our postgraduate diploma. So I've now done a master's top up too. But that's been a really good avenue into starting to get stuff, trying to work on getting things published and a bit of research too. So trying to tick all the different boxes really that have helped me in that same sort of area, I think. And it's just the area I'm most passionate about too.
Oh my God, how fantastic, Christian. I certainly can feel that peer pressure now on my shoulder of, oh my God, you're doing so well, and I have to sort of wait for me, I'll catch up with you. That's great. And I guess my question is, obviously you specialize in celiac disease, and why celiac disease? Why did you choose celiac disease?
Yeah, great question. So I always say, I know it sounds, it might sound a bit weird to people, but it chose me really, because I think I started to really enjoy gastro because I thought it's an area of dietetics where you can have a really big impact. And then we had this new post that came out, and I thought, right, that sounds great. Service development, gastro. I knew about celiac disease, but I didn't know that much. And I went into it and then just realized that, obviously diet's the only treatment, and I realized that patients have many more challenges than I thought they would with implementing the diet. A lot of patients come back with persistent symptoms where we have to investigate and look, and the role of a dietitian is massive in all of this. But I think we've been really underrepresented in this condition, and actually many services aren't well funded for dietitians, so we don't really see what, you only know what you see with a lot of these things, and you don't know what you don't know. So I started to unpick a lot of this and realized that actually could have a huge impact with supporting patients. It can actually save NHS money. We can reduce unnecessary investigations, which is a lot of the masters data have been collecting too. So I started to realize that there's a huge benefit, because I just felt like I was really supporting patients, and they were really feeling valued too. They could see the input of a dietitian that really helped. So I think all of this just really naturally made me want to do more and more. And a lot of people are like, how is this guy so addicted to celiac disease? Because I do it in private practice, in research too. But for me, I just can't get enough, because I think it's huge, and I think that we can do so much as dietitians in this area, and that actually few dietitians realize this and don't see celiac disease as an area we can have that much of an impact, I think.
Absolutely. And if you think of diet is sort of the only treatment for celiac disease, I think that actually make it really should be really attractive to dietitians, when a rare condition that you can only treat it with diet. So that's so interesting, Christian. I think you now have become sort of the representative dietitian in celiac disease, and I think if we mention celiac
I'm
disease,
not sure. I think that's Nick Trott.
Nick Trott as well, but I think you are sort of. No, I'm not going to say anything, but I think you are really a representative
Thank
dietitian
you.
in that field. And you mentioned that you started to do private practice since 2 years ago. What was the opportunity that made you start?
Yeah, so it's basically linked to Instagram. So really what happened with me is I joined Instagram, I think it was about March 2020. So really when the pandemic happened, I was running our celiac service in the NHS, and realized actually, many patients were suffering with not being able to see clinicians because of the pandemic. So really for me, I was like, well, how can I help out here? So I decided to create this Instagram page and then share information to make diet information about, with regards to celiac disease easier to access for people. And then really that just kind of exploded. I didn't realize, you jump on social media many times thinking, is there going to be pushback? Am I going to get negative feedback? All that. But it's just been absolutely opposite. Everyone's really appreciated having a dietitian with special interest in celiac disease, sharing information, making it easier, debunking myths, all that sort of thing. And then really that built over quite a few months, I think. And then almost before it was a year on Instagram, then Sophie Medlin, who's the chair of City Dietitians, some of you might have seen her recently on TV too. She does so much stuff. So she actually contacted me recently. Yeah, it's such a great program.
No, okay, let's send the folks back to you.
That's it.
It's just amazing. So she got in touch, and what happened?
Yeah, so she got in touch and basically said, we've got this clinic of specialist dietitians in different areas, would you be interested in supporting patients with celiac disease? And, for me at that point, I didn't really do any private practice, but I thought, it sounds like a good opportunity, because I was getting all these messages from people saying, I'm struggling, I can't get access to a dietitian, or, I'm seeing a dietitian that doesn't have special interest, I'm not getting anywhere, all stuff. And I was like, I could just say, just go back to your GP, but I couldn't do anything else. So then it kind of made sense. And I was like, well, it didn't look like there was many people with that special interest in celiac disease supporting people in private practice. So I thought that sounds like a good opportunity. I can actually help more people, really, which is what the main thing was about. So I thought, right, well, I'll give that a go. And then since then, that's almost like 2 years now, actually, supporting people in private practice. And it's just gone really well. And then that's built into more opportunities and more things whilst doing the NHS alongside. They've both fed in really well to each other, because it's pretty much the same clinical area.
Yeah, absolutely. And all started in social media, and even when you started, it's not with the attention to, to work in private practice. You just started,
definitely not.
With good heart and to help people. And I think that's so interesting. And I think if everybody would you say, in this watching this live chat, what would you advise them to do in terms of social media? Because it starts from social media, so it is quite a powerful tool, isn't it? And so if students or if people are thinking about private practice, and I think social media itself is free, and where do you think they should start, or they can start?
Yeah, so I think for myself, just sharing my experience, it was literally just getting on there on the platform. I thought, Instagram, to be honest, I didn't know much about Instagram or how to handle it either. I think this is another thing that loads of people think, I need to know. I didn't. I really didn't. I knew some of the basics. But essentially, for me, it's just about realizing, right, where are a lot of the patients that you see. So, now it might be TikTok for some, but I think still Instagram is huge. Loads of people will use it, right? But I think it's about just getting on there and being authentic. So many people think, I need to be doing this, I need to be doing another account, I need to be doing that. But I think the best thing about this is that everyone is so unique. And that is what sets you apart from everybody else. And that's brilliant. I think that's fantastic. And everyone's got their own uniqueness, their own special interest. Like I came on here, there wasn't another dietitian here in the UK. Nobody else was sharing this stuff around celiac disease, but it didn't mean it wasn't a reason to not do it. I think for me, it was like, well, actually, I feel like I want to do this. This is how I feel I can help people. So do it. You never know. And actually what you realize is there's actually a huge community of people that are interested. And when they see your page, you just get more people who are interested and actually benefit from it. So I think it's about sharing stuff you're passionate about, that you think you can help people with, and you learn stuff along the way. But I think even if you're just setting off to help people connect, or even if you use it, like I see so many students now that use it as, all right, I'll just do a post on this, I've just learned this, to reflect on it, and use it as a revision later on. Every time you post about something, you learn too. So even if you're just using it for learning, I think that's fantastic. And I'd even go further and say a lot of people who think, oh, I don't want to get bothered with the posting. If you just go on there and use it for learning without posting, where you just follow other people and I think there's still benefits with all of that. So there's different levels of stuff you can do.
Yeah, definitely. And oh my God, I'm just reflecting on my own social media as well. Everybody follow at Long Li Pearl if you haven't followed me yet. Obviously, Christian, you initially started to focus on celiac disease. And obviously that's an area that's not much people at that time on Instagram are talking about. And then that attracts a lot of traffic and attention probably, and that benefits you and the patients. And obviously it's a very specialist area. Would you say that having a specialist area in the Instagram would help attract sort of clients or future sort of working collaborative or collaborations?
Yes, I definitely think so. So I think there's there's no one size fits all with this. And then I think some people will be suited to working in a more general aspect, and loads of pages and people do well doing that, right? But I think if just my experience and then seeing other people too, if you've got a very dedicated area like me, for example, celiac disease, it's very clear from the title of my page, the content you see. It's, I do post about a few other things, but it's mainly celiac disease focused. So if someone has a problem with celiac disease, they know, right, I go to this page, this person's going to mainly post around it. So, it makes it much more streamlined for both myself and also for that page, because I know that all my content is celiac related. So I know this is what I want to do. This is what I want to focus on, different aspects. But it also makes it easier for me because, all of this stuff that I do in NHS, outside research, it's all very streamlined and I can share it. So it's less of an effort trying to think of all these different areas too. So I think it does, if you streamline it like that, it definitely makes it easier for yourself and for patients.
Yeah, and obviously you work in the NHS as a celiac disease dietitian. Do you feel that the NHS experience has benefited you in terms of getting private work?
Yeah, 1000%. I think, it's completely, for me, it's been completely key. If it weren't for all the stuff I've done in the age, I wouldn't have found celiac disease either with all these challenges, but also the level of clinical experience that you get is huge. And that's what's then allowed me to say, right, in private practice, I can combine that. And I think one of the things with private practice too is that, we get the luxury sometimes that we have more time with patients too. And then that helps us look at the whole, at everything at a deeper level, really. But when you have that good foundation in the NHS and you know what you're doing, and then that helped me to then be able to take on these patients, being able to guarantee, yes, I can support you with celiac disease, that sort of thing too. So I'd always say, so many people, and I hear students that are interested, and I think it's good to know so many people see private practice, or I can say, right, it's gone pretty well for me so far, everything. But really, I've got, we talked about graduation, didn't we? So it's on to 8 years now of clinical experience. So, you know, for me, I went into private practice after 5 years of NHS experience, really. And I think that really good foundation in the NHS is really key to understand that, because when people come with celiac disease, they don't just come with celiac disease, they'll come with other medical problems, other conditions, complex issues, and you have to have managed quite a few patients there and understand these challenges, I think.
So would you actually recommend sort of working in the NHS first before thinking of sort of doing private practice? Or because I know some students or some people might think of going straight to private practice straight away after graduation. Do you think that's a good idea, or?
Yeah, so I think that, you know, private practice is very broad. There's many different things you can do in private practice, right? But I think if you're looking to work with patients, and also like even if you're not, I think for me the whole thing with the NHS is it brought so many things I didn't know I wanted to do. It got me closer to them, really, and exposed me to so many clinical areas that, you know, I wouldn't have known celiac disease what I wanted to do coming straight out of university. I would have, you know, there's no chance I would have gone into that. So I think with all of it, it brings stuff that you don't know, and I think that's the important thing. It exposes you to different things, and also just builds a lot of really good clinical knowledge in different areas too. And then also, you know, working with challenges, I think that it's good in a way that, you know, obviously it's bad that the NHS is short staffed and all that, but it also helps you develop skills with resilience, understanding some of these challenges and all of that. You know, all of these skills are highly transferable. So I would recommend, definitely would recommend students join the NHS when they join, because you're going to learn a lot of stuff that's going to become transferable.
I definitely agree with you, Christian. I think the NHS is such a good place to really develop and enhance that clinical knowledge and the clinical skills. And I think they would definitely benefit the private work as well. And thinking of private work, obviously you see patients, and you mentioned that some patients actually approached you on Instagram. And what kind of clients or patients would seek a private dietitian, do you think?
Yeah, so I guess it depends on the clinical area. So I can mainly speak of mine and a few others. But say, for example, with celiac disease, it'll be like quite a few people who are newly diagnosed and really want to understand how to manage their condition. But what I say I mostly get is people with persisting symptoms who really don't know what is going on. And these are people we can really help by unpicking their diet, making sure they're avoiding gluten in the right way. But also a lot of people might have, you know, an overlap of symptoms, which could potentially be IBS, functional, or another medical condition. And it's helping them explore that and really understand what the root cause of their issues is. So a lot of people will come with more complex problems that they just can't solve alone, you know, and I think that's the nature of private practice. You'll probably get patients who, you know, who've done more reading, they might have had input with other dietitians, they might have input with other stuff, or they might even, some of them might have some support from an NHS point of view too, you know. So they tend to, I think they come with a bit more complex problems, but sometimes people think it's in private practice what you get is just people who've got really complex, but it's not the case. You get a lot of people too who really just want to optimize things as much as possible. And it's stuff that, you know, you might not get an NHS appointment for to really understand everything. And I think the whole thing is, you know, many patients might not get time with a doctor to understand about their medical condition, how to manage it. So just getting that extra time to understand everything, how it should be monitored, people get huge benefit from it too.
That's so good to know of, you know, what kind of clients would come to you. And so in terms of working in private practice, do you need to, what about like insurance? How do you sort of set it up? Obviously, Sophie approached you and to join the city dietitian at that time because of your sort of your influence on social media in this area. But do you need to sort out any insurance kind of stuff? How does it work? The logistics?
Yeah. So again, my model is a bit different because I work for a clinic, so I haven't set up my own clinic really. So that would be a different scenario and it also depends with if you're doing face to face. Sure. So the type of insurance that you need might be a bit different too. So again, you know, the company they do a lot of stuff in terms of making sure that the legal paperwork for the patient is there, the consent information, all of that sort of stuff, which makes things easier. I think, it's all of this is really important to understand that, when you go into it, getting the right advice on what you need to pay for insurance, you can have BDA insurance, but it depends where you're seeing patients to, where they might be located, because BDA might not cover all of that too. So all of that, it's just really good to understand. I think that's why anything you do there, it's really good to just get some, professional advice or advice from more experienced dietitians or people who can give you a bit of an idea so you can understand that. But I'd say there's, some of those setup things that you need to consider from a legal, insurance point of view, definitely.
And I think the BDA has a freelance dietitian specialist group, don't they? So I think that could be, if people are thinking about, doing some private work or freelance work, that could be a good start to go. And I'm sure they've got those guidance as well.
Definitely, they've got so basically they've got a course for freelance. All right, BDA have got one. I haven't done it myself. I've heard a lot of good stuff about it. Then there's also the BDA freelance group which I'm in, and there's a lot of webinars there which share a lot of really useful information. But then there's also so we've got Anne who's shared, I don't know if you've heard of her, but she's done a lot on the private practice forum on Facebook, which is fantastic because that's also really useful, and she's got like a guide which is really useful for starting up too. So all of these things, there's little tools that can really help people.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody is interested in knowing that Facebook group, if you ever use Facebook, you can get in touch with me. I can certainly signpost you to that freelance dietitian group. And so, Cristian, apart from working for City Dietitian, the clinics, and do you do any other type of private work?
Yeah, so I've done a bit of stuff, around working with companies before too, which initially I was, I think going into private practice, you're like, oh, what's that going to be like too? But I think for me, private practice has been more about understanding where my skill set can actually make things better, at a larger scale. So I've done a few things. So one of the things I did was, for example, Simprove had this initiative, and they, where they would pay us to actually support patients for free, do some free consultations. So that was really good. I've done some stuff too, like with Dr. Shah, developing some national celiac disease booklets that now people can use for free. Dietitians, they can get that for free in their departments for patients. So there's all these things that come up, which I think actually are just really good opportunities to work with companies, and then companies realize what you can do as a dietitian to benefit a wider audience too. So there's all these sorts of things, and a few more things in the pipeline, but it's all around working with companies that might approach me to say, actually, do you think this is something that can help, something you want to get involved with? I mean, I'll be honest, a lot, like 95% requests I get, I'm like, no, because I think a lot of these things that you get on Instagram, they'll either like compromise integrity, there's no evidence behind it, it's stuff that you just wouldn't put on there. So I think it's all about understanding that it's something that you think is going to really value, it's genuine, and it's not compromising your integrity. But I think there's some definitely good opportunities out there to make a difference and help more people with working jointly with companies.
Definitely, and definitely follow the professional guidelines as well, as you said, not to compromise the integrity of a dietitian. And
Definitely.
we can always seek advice from the BDA, can't we, if we were ever in doubt. And absolutely. So it sounds like the private work is not just about seeing patients in private, is it? It sounds like a lot of different types of work. And I think that's probably quite important for people to realize it's not just about seeing patients. You can write an article, for example, for magazine, that can be, or you can write, as you said, you worked with Dr. Shah, and all those kind of things that can generate sort of income, and it can sort of, can support you as well financially. And now coming to that end, Cristian, so you are working 4 days in the NHS now, because you used to work full time for the NHS, don't you? And then
Correct.
you reduced to 4 days. And I know initially you used that one extra day to do your masters, to top up the masters. And then now you continued, and once you finish your masters, you think that's a good day for you to do private work. And so it has been like this. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's all, again, all of these things end up happening out of chance, but it's been a good way to get that balance right after doing the masters, and I think it's really helped to do that, and I think it helps to have all of this. I can see you long. Just pause a second. Yeah. So I think all of this is why it's good sometimes when you have that flex, really, it's a good balance. For me, that's worked out. I tried it and actually it's worked out really well because actually I get a lot of benefit from seeing those private patients that then builds my knowledge in the NHS and the other way around. So I think that sort of flex of things is really good. And I think it's good to let people understand that it's not everything or nothing. Sometimes people think I can just do private practice. I just need to focus on that or just NHS. But actually, if you can get the balance, it's fantastic. And, I've got colleagues, who do NHS, they do maybe a day in research and then they do some private practice and then you're like, wow, you've got a really good mix of stuff that's feeding into every different area.
Do you feel you balance your work life very well then? Sort of your NHS work
Not
and your private work and your practice one. No, no. Can you tell me a bit more about it?
Yeah, so I think it was way off balance when I was doing the masters. Yeah, especially like finishing, trying to get the dissertation done. That was pretty crazy. I think I'm getting the balance a bit better now, and I think a lot of this is, once you do private practice, a lot of opportunities, and I like doing things to help people too. So I just get involved. I've been getting involved with a lot of stuff, and I do get involved with a lot of like free stuff too to help out as much as I can. But I think later on is when you realize that you've got to get that balance with saying no and really thinking, what do I really want to focus on and move forward. And I feel like I'm getting there this year a bit more, but it's just it is hard when you've got so many of these different things and you really want to push so many things forward that you've got to
Yeah,
choose. But yeah, I think it's also a learning lesson with all of this because I think there's with private practice there's no limits, there's no like set time. You do it in your own,
yeah,
so you can always do more. I think there's always a feeling that you can do more.
yeah. And I so agree with you, Christian, especially I think since the end of last year or beginning of this year, I started to realize of how much work I've got, and then we have to sort of not university work, but other work alongside the university. We have to sort of prioritize of what's important for me, and we have to give up some work and just focus on this more important work for me, professionally or for me career wise. Will help me a bit more. So I guess it sounds like you are getting there as well of realize of how to prioritize your own work as well. So that's great. And I think many of the audience here, and especially me as well, are very nosy. I just want to know, is it good income?
Yeah, good
Because
question. So I think it really depends with the income. So many people think, oh, private practice, you're making a killing, all that sort of stuff. But really, like to get to a point with private practice where you can make decent money, you have to be either seen as probably an expert in the area. You've got to have a lot of clinical understanding. You've got to be able to back. And I think for me, that's the key thing, really, that with a lot of this too, and there's loads of people that will be earning more, charging more, all that sort of stuff. And for me, it's always been about at the level where I know I'm definitely delivering something that is a really, really true, value to that person. And I think it's hard to get to that point really, because you have to have a lot of experience with that too. So I think it's all about that. You can do a lot of stuff to build up reputation, do things, do a million podcasts, you can do loads of stuff. You can do loads of things that aren't paid in private practice, and end up not earning that much. So I think it's all about, to say you can, but you've also got to put in a lot of work to be able to generate that. And that's where I think, it's about getting that balance right and understanding where you want to put your energy. But I think you can you can you can put your own value on things too, and it's about learning about that too, because I think sometimes as dietitians we think actually, or maybe like I think in the NHS we're used to doing so much and you're used to doing everything for free, but actually realize that our expertise are really unique, and I think it's really important to understand that too, because if we don't do that and we don't fight for that, then we don't create that gap or in the industry where we actually get people value it. I think it's really important that people value all of our work because it's very unique, and there's other health professionals can't do it
yeah.
essentially.
And I think it's so important to find everybody's unique selling point, isn't it? And everyone has their own talent. And in you, perhaps it's celiac disease, but I'm sure like everybody has their own passion and can definitely. And I think it's quite important to actually see the opportunities themselves as well. So rather than
Mhm.
waiting for opportunities to come to them, I think
Definitely.
seeing opportunities from a lot of, sort of threats or the um, Yeah, so from a lot of difficulties, we should really see opportunities from there. So, do
Definitely.
you
It's all
think
about knocking on the doors, really. That's what I say to people. The more doors you knock on, the more are going to open. If you knock on one
yeah,
door, you can't just hope every door opens, right?
definitely. And you mentioned before that obviously you started during COVID, and because of your authenticity. And I think that's such an important element is to be authentic and you're not like a fake person. People can feel that's your passion. People can feel that you are actually wanting to do something for them. So I think that's quite important. Any other advice would you suggest in terms of building your own brand?
I think getting professional help really. So I had some support from a coach that can help with with Instagram marketing too. I think as dietitians we don't get taught to market ourselves
Yeah.
really. So this is a self-taught skill for a lot of people. So I was able to get some help with that, and that's really helped because one of the frustrating things too is that yeah, and this is why I think, actually joining private practice, these things can help as well as doing other stuff for the NHS, because if you don't do it, someone else will that might not be as qualified or prepared to help people. And this is what I see in clinic. Many people come to me and they've done a million different things, spent much more money than they would have spent by seeing me and got nowhere. Right. But actually being able to sort their problem out in a few months, a few sessions, right? Because actually, we weren't there. If you're not there, then someone else is going to do it. So I think the whole thing here is about understanding that, and that really we've got some value to give there, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we know as dietitians we often know we can do it, but if you can't market that and allow someone else to see how you can help, if you can't get them to see that and understand what their pain points are, what their challenges are, so that they know you're the person who can fix that or help them, then you might as well not have those skills, right? And I think this is what we think, that you actually just come on Instagram and you say, actually, hey, I'm here, I can help. Well, you're actually shouting the same message as so many thousand people on Instagram. So if you get those marketing skills, I think that can really help to understand what type of post, how you communicate, and all of that stuff is really beneficial, because at the end of the day, you're going to help more people by doing it.
Is that how did you find that person? Is that your friend or
Yeah,
through
I'm happy
networking?
to mention it. So it's Katie Muller. It's dietitian digital, I think her Instagram account is, or digital dietitian. But yeah, essentially it was through Instagram. Found her through Instagram, and it was just to get some more private patients. And I realized that I just wasn't posting the right way too. So I think all of this has helped me. But the whole thing is, it's also helped me understand that actually it's not because when you think you're posting the right way and you aren't, but then when you actually understand what are people's challenges, you're doing more, and then that enhances your own practice too, because you're actually understanding what are the challenges and how can I help them. So all of that is really good work to understand. So you got to understand the challenges that people are experiencing first, and then understand how to meet them.
I definitely need to get in contact with her and just learn some of the techniques and the marketing skills and grow my own followers, and hopefully that can bring me some more paid work opportunities. And I'm just noticing the time we're actually coming to an end. And thank you so much, Christian, for joining us today. I'm just quickly look at if there are any questions from the audience, and I think we have covered a lot of them already in our chat. And so some of them asking of how to make, is it hard to make celiac, um, a meal plan for celiac disease? Um, and one question is,
Mhm.
you mentioned that you completed your master's. Do you find that the private practice dietitians you work alongside have also taken that next step in their formal education? So I guess the question is, do people need a master's or PhD even?
In private practice, I don't think you do. Like if you were to say, imagine if you were going to work with certain companies, or if you're going to see patients in private practice, I don't think the patients are going to care about you having a PhD or a master's as much. I think they're more, they care more about you being able to help them, really. So I think if you can, you probably don't need it for that respect. But I have seen quite a few dietitians on that work that have done a PhD, a master's too, and because they pursued an interest in that too. And I think all of that, can help, you know, because say, for example, like, you know, yourself, Long, you worked in the NHS and then you transitioned into lecturing too. So I think, you know, you've got a master's, that's going to make your life easier. You know, if you've got a PhD, it's going to make your life easier, that sort of thing. So I think all of that. And the good thing now is that a lot of the dietetics courses, you can't do postgraduate diploma, can you? You have to do, it's a master's if you, yeah. So I think that's good because you've got your master's done too. So yeah, I think it can be helpful, but I don't think it's essential. Depends what area you're going into, really.
That's great. And one post says your posts are amazing and the daughter diagnosed with celiac still struggling, but your posts have been really, really helpful. So that's
Oh,
great
thank
from
you.
our audience. And see if there's any other question.
That's what it's all about. That's why I'm here.
Is it worth starting an Instagram website or blog as a student, and how to target as not specialized yet? That's a really good
Yeah,
question, I think.
great question. And I think, you know, so what often stops people is, you know, I heard someone say this and I loved it. It's paralysis by analysis, right? So you're analyzing everything. You think, I don't know this, don't know that. But I mean, just get started. How many people change their Instagram handle? How many people change what they're posting about? You can always create a new Instagram page. So I don't think any of that should stop you. If you feel like you want to start and start sharing stuff, start sharing what you're doing. Even like, you know, I see Instagram accounts where you got students just sharing what they're doing on placement. Well, guess what? Loads of people will find that really useful, what you're doing on placement. And if you later on don't dedicate your life to sharing content about how to progress through placement, it doesn't really matter because you've learned something that's transferable. So I think that's the whole thing. If you really are keen on it and you want to spread awareness, do whatever you want in that area. You can always change it. You can always change your handle, do something a bit different. I think, and the same with, you know, a lot of people link to that, you know, think actually I need a website, all that. I don't actually have a website, like my own website. I've got City Dietitian's website, but nowadays there's loads of stuff that people can do to create like a quick website or a landing page, to create blog posts. So there's loads of options now that with technology and make things easier for you to just get started and do a few things in the area that you want to do.
Definitely. Great advice, Christian. And I think I probably will just ask the last question because I'm very aware of the time, and especially I know you're really, really busy from the chat just said. Is there anything new you're currently working on or improving in the celiac clinics or pathways in your NHS role? And have you got any tips for future dietitians working in celiac clinics? So I guess it's more about
Yeah.
celiac rather than private practice. But any
Yeah, definitely. So there's loads. Like hard to answer that one in one sentence or in
just
a
pick
couple,
your
but
top one.
but really, yeah, what I'd say is really what we're trying to do in the NHS really is manage a higher volume. So we're actually using, you know, Long and I were talking about this, the importance of collecting outcomes. So now we're using virtual software within our clinics to have pre-assessment forms, collect patient outcome data, which is digitalized, so you don't have to input it manually. And then you can show like, you know, symptom improvement, adherence changes, all these sorts of things, which actually helps you to evidence that actually you're helping the patient, but also engages the patient more. So there's all of these things using technology, really, getting these pathways, having things like some virtual reviews for patients too, without having to book them into clinics to check how they're getting on, that sort of thing. So a lot of these things where we're incorporating it, and then also trying to unify pathways across primary and secondary care, so the transition's easier for patients too. So I think there's just so many things there. And, you know, if you're interested in working in celiac disease, that sort of stuff, definitely happy if you want to reach out. I'm always happy to give any tips, suggestions too. But I think it's a really good area where, again, collecting some outcomes, you can show your worth and build these sort of dietitian-led celiac services. We've also got like for people who are interested, we're running Nick Trott, Yvonne Jeans and I are running a celiac disease national outcomes group too, where we're talking about all of these things and helping people with implementing some of these different things too.
Great answer. Sorry, last one, definitely last one.
Sure.
If you work in private practice and if you want to sort of check a patient's bloods, do you work in an MDT? Or how does it work if you want to check someone's blood results?
Yeah, really good question. So yeah, in the NHS, because I've got a bit of like an extended role, I can do it directly too, with the right support training, all that sort of stuff. But in private practice, not really. So what we do is like we'd ask we can send in a letter or what we recommend, and then the patient can then take that letter to the GP to get checked. Or if they're working with a gastroenterologist, say for example in private practice, then they can do that through there. But usually it's around what we advise too, because we don't have the facility, not to my knowledge, in a lot of these clinics to just order bloods directly, because that would always have to be within a supported MDT. So it might be in some of these places that I think some places will start to have these sort of clinics where you might have a private MDT where you've got gastroenterologist, dietitian kind of working together and other health professionals. But I think that there's not that many places that are set up like that.
Thank you so much, Christian. How can people find you on social media if they don't know yet?
Sure. So yeah, just through here, through Instagram at Celiac Dietitian, and on Twitter it's Cristian Costas B, mainly. Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn too, it's Cristian Costas Batley too. But yeah, I think those are probably the main three that people can find me on. And definitely just drop me a message if you're interested in anything like with celiac disease or anything I can help. Always happy to if I can.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Christian. It's so nice to chat to you today. And I hope everybody has enjoyed this chat. And obviously this will go up again as recorded and chat. So thank you again, Christian. Thank you for your time. And I wish you a really, really lovely evening. And I wish everybody a lovely evening. Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks. Thank you, Long. It's been great to catch up, and thanks for
Nice
having me
to
on,
see
and
you
thanks to
again.
everyone for listening.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.